First half is in the books for 2025 for the car manufacturers. And as we look at the sales data for Honda and Acura, things are looking actually really favorable for them, up almost 9% on quarter two, which is an improvement on quarter one. So far, we're up 7% of the 6 months this year. Now, Ford's doing well. Ford's up 15% on quarter two. General Motors doing well, 7% up on quarter two. And I'll make videos on Hyundai and Kia still here in a little bit, Mazda and Subaru. If you missed my Toyota and Lexus update, go ahead and check that out. But things are cooling down here in July and even in June. So we're going to go over Honda and Acura in this video. If you guys are excited, hit the like button. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe. I still got to get my sport touring review up on the CRV. I just got back last week from driving the 2026 CRV Trail Sport and sport touring models. So make sure you're subscribed. I will have some really exciting Honda and Acura stuff coming in the next couple months. You will not want to miss it. Make sure you are subscribed. Can't say anything more than that. Things are slowing down for sure, just by a little bit. So let's look at Honda on the far right here. Cars are down in the first half for Honda. Not looking great. It's worse for Acura. We'll explain why in a little bit. If we look at SUVs or trucks, they call them trucks or the crossovers. They only have one truck, the Ridgeline, which we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. SUVs are up massively. When I looked yesterday at CRVs in my area, there were almost 2,000 CRV hybrids in my area. You can be able to get incredible discounts on the CRV hybrid. Fantastic vehicle. They're up 12% on quarter two. But look here, guys, this is the drop. We're seeing the drop here. Quarter two up 12%. But the last month of quarter two only up 5%. Cars are going in the wrong direction as well. For Honda, if we look at Acura, their SUVs were actually up in the month of June, but it's fallen from 20% down to 14%. June for cars and Acura down 20%. It's going in the wrong direction because year to date, actually, it's not that bad compared to what they have been because year to date it's minus 24%. But anyways, it's terrible. They're roughly minus 20% this year plus on their sedans, Acura. It's rough. TLX, Integra getting walloped. Honda flexing for the most American cars. They have 5 models in the top 20. I made a video on this. No one cared. No one watched that video. I thought it was entertaining, but that's okay. I can't have every video just be fantastic. But let's get into the individual model sales. That's where I nerd out, and give you my thoughts on what's happening. All right, Accord down 15% on the year right here. We also have the Accord down about 4% on the month. We started seeing the Accord go down around this time last year because of the Marysville Auto plant that I toured. Watch my tour of the plant that I was at in February. Marysville, Ohio, they are reworking the assembly lines there, essentially the entire plant, moving it around so that they can also build 0 Series EVs there, which start later this year with the Acura RSX SUV. I know, it's such a strange thing that Acura is calling an SUV an RSX. Honda will have 0 Series EVs coming out early next year, starting with the SUV. But the Accord, the large sedan sales are not great, obviously, across the United States. It's still a shrinking market. If you watched my Toyota video, though, the Camry's positive this year. The Camry's on pace to sell, I think it was 320,000 sedans. The Accord is on pace to sell 150,000, something like that, even less, maybe 130,000. Camry is almost tripling the sales of the Accord at this point. It is really, really sad. Why? Why is the Camry doing so well? Well, I mentioned the production. Honda seems to be okay with not having Accord sales volume be that high right now. It's like a sacrificial lamb. All right, let's move on because they think EVs are going to take off. Actually, they've started to pump the brakes on that because they're bringing in large platform hybrids in the next couple of years. We'll see what Honda ends up doing. But at least at Marysville Auto, they'll have the availability of making whatever the market demands. But I'm worried for the volume of certain models. like the Integra and the Accord. All right, Civic is about neutral on the year. It's down 1.2% in terms of total volume, but it's heading in the wrong direction because it was down at 9% this past month. All right, but still, Civic doing well. Civic and Corolla still duking it out for the best-selling compact sedan. CRV, like I said, guys, you can find so many CRVs available out there on the market. A lot of the hybrids, if you're struggling to find a RAV4 hybrid, look at a CRV hybrid, look at a CX-50 hybrid. They're really good vehicles, and they can be had for way better deals than a Toyota. Okay, so the CRV is just crushing it right now, 8.3% up for the year, but it is sliding. It has slid a little bit. I think this is indicative of the market cooling down. CRV down 5.7% on the month. HRV down 1% on the month. HRV still doing well on the year, 3.7%. And just want to throw this in there. As we covered Toyota is still heavily dependent on Japanese imports. Honda is dependent from Canadian and Mexican imports. For example, the HRV and the CRV. HRV is made down in Mexico. CRV is made in the U.S. and in Canada. So, like, they're not nearly as in trouble as most manufacturers are. Honda, other than Ford and Tesla, Honda, other than those two companies, has the most American-built vehicles. So Honda's going to be faring quite well here, I think. As long as they make the right decisions, they don't go too overboard with EVs. They're having to incentivize their EVs massively, as we'll talk about here a little bit. Odyssey, Honda Odyssey up 27%. We saw with the Sienna was up like 80%. The Odyssey is a better vehicle than the Sienna. Sienna just gets better fuel economy. That's the only thing that Toyota does better than Honda with their minivan, is that it gets better fuel economy. Once the Odyssey has a hybrid, it could be like game, set, and match. But people love their Sienna hybrids, and I get it. The fuel economy is good, but that's about it. But the Odyssey drives so well. The V6 is so pleasant, so smooth, so luxurious. The build quality is fantastic. Love the Odyssey, and just watch all my reviews on it when Honda, let me test it out for 6 months. But 38% up on the month. It's going in the right direction. All right. Passport with the new redesign. I just reviewed the Passport Trail Sport. It's a very good vehicle. It just gets a bit pricey. It's up 67% on the month and up 66% on the year. Passport crushing it. Keep in mind the Odyssey, the Passport, the Pilot, and the Ridgeline, they are all built in Lincoln, Alabama. They're a large platform. All right. So the Pilot, though, Pilot's down. Pilot's down 2% on the year and 22% on the month. Got to keep in mind, Honda can sacrifice some Pilot volume for Passport volume because that vehicle's hot. Just redesign, looks great. And the Odyssey needs volume too. So if they can shift production, I don't know, right? They don't use, of course, all the same parts. But if they have the parts to make the Odyssey and the market is like wanting more Odyssey and Passports and less of the Pilot, Honda should have the flexibility to shuffle production. Look at what Toyota is doing with the Highlander and the Sienna and the Grand Highlander, all built in the same plant, but the Highlander sales are down. The other two are skyrocketing. Prologue. Well, Prologue's up 1,000%. They've sold 16,000 Prologues. This is crazy. The Prologue is almost, it's more than half the volume of the Passport. All right. It's getting close to the Ridgeline sales numbers. All right. I want to look at Prologues in my area. I want to see what kind of price drops we're seeing. $8,000 price drop. Now that might include the EV tax credit, so keep that in mind. But Honda is incentivizing the Prologue a lot, and that's not including the EV tax credit. Okay, so what do I think about the Prologue? I think it's beautiful. I think it's an okay EV. It's okay at being efficient, but the pedestrian warning absolutely kills it for me. I cannot live with this vehicle. The pedestrian warning inside the cabin is so obnoxious and takes away from the experience, which would otherwise be excellent. If you can get a great deal on a Prologue, think about it. But again, test drive one to see if you can live with the warning under 23 miles an hour, the sound that enters the cabin, or you just wait for the far better looking and far more, it's going to be so much better. The 0 Series SUV coming out next year if you need an EV. Ridgeline up 22% on the month, up 61% on the year. Keep in mind the Ridgeline, from what I'm hearing, is likely to be discontinued. Once again, right? There's a huge gap between first and second generation. So we'll see. We'll see what Honda, maybe Honda wants to make an EV pickup or something. I think the customers would rather have a hybrid pickup, but I don't know. Integra, again, the sacrificial lamb for the 0 Series EVs at the Marysville Auto. So the Integra, the TLX, and the Accord all being hit. Now, TLX had such a terrible year last year that it is seeing some sales volume increase, but look, they're going from about 500 to 700. So they're still hardly selling any TLXs, but actually a bit more than I was expecting. Look at how big the gap was last year. They sold 2,100 Integras and about 500 TLXs for the month of June. Now, as we look at the full year, Integra down 27%, TLX down 13%. And that might be all fine and dandy because for Acura, you have vehicles like the ADX, which just entered into the market. Keep in mind, it's built in Mexico. So I don't know how that will, how much will be affected by tariffs. They sold almost 2,000 ADXs this past month, which is more than the Integra. It's just the market, man. I just reviewed the ADX. Like the CVT and it's just so slow. For precision crafted performance brand, it's unacceptably slow. But this lets you know people don't care. They will buy the ADX over the Integra. The Integra, even though it has the same powertrain, is a lot faster. People buying the ADX because it's a crossover. All right. It's a gussied up HRV. And you say the Integra is a gussied up Civic, but the Civic's so good to start. Okay. So the Integra just takes it that extra notch above. All right. Unfortunately for the ADX and the Integra, they don't have Honda's hybrid system. The HRV doesn't have it yet, at least our HRV. The ZRV, which is our HRV for other markets, has the 2-liter hybrid system, but I don't want to get too frustrated that our HRV doesn't have it yet. I feel like it's only a matter of time before the ADX, the Integra get the hybrid. All right, the 2-liter hybrid. But in the meantime, their competition has hybrids or their competition has better powertrains in general. Watch my review of the Audi S3. It's better than the Integra, but the Integra can have a manual, and the manual is really something special. It's really fun. Acura MDX. This is crazy. The MDX is made in Ohio, I believe, alongside of some CRVs. Also, I think some Civics. So the MDX, the sales are down. They just refreshed it. They got rid of the touchpad. It's a touchscreen now. The styling is questionable on the front end of the new refreshed MDX for 2025 and beyond. It's a bit strange looking now. So they've taken a step back with the styling. The Type S of the MDX is like 2 times better the vehicle. So what I struggle with the MDX is that it's not sporty enough for a precision crafted brand, and it's not anywhere close to luxurious enough either until you get to the Type S, in my opinion. It just doesn't have the refinement that it should have. In fact, I feel like the Pilot has a little bit better refinement than the MDX in some ways. Assuming we're not talking air ride suspension, adaptive dampers, right? The Odyssey by far has a better ride than the MDX. The Odyssey feels like a better built vehicle than the MDX, which is just crazy. And the engine refinement's on a whole nother level compared to the MDX and the Odyssey. So the MDX, like when it launched with this generation, what was it, the 2022 model year or 2021, something like that? It was good when it launched, but I feel like there's a lot more competition in the market now, and it can't rest on its laurels as being the best 3-row luxury vehicle of all time, the best selling, right? There are other options out there that beat out the MDX. The Type S, again, holds its own, but the standard MDX just doesn't have that refinement that it should have, in my opinion. RDX is good. The fuel economy is just so bad on it. And there's no Type S, there's no hybrid. And that's what's hurting Acura's lineup a lot right now. No hybrids, a lack of powertrain options, I would say. And the RDX is down 11% on the year, and it's going in the wrong direction, down 31% on the month. All right. You look at the ZDX, though. The ZDX has sold 10,000 units. Like the Prologue, we go back to the program, that has sold 16,000 units. So Honda and Acura are selling a boatload of EVs. And the ZDX it's made by General Motors, like the Prologue. The Prologue's built in Mexico, though. ZDX is made in Spring Hill, Tennessee, alongside of like the Cadillac Lyriq. The RDX and the ZDX, I like more than the Prologue, but again, it costs a lot of money. And the thing is, like, if you live in Colorado, for example, you can lease a ZDX cheaper than an ADX in some cases because of all the incentives and governmental tax credits that you can get on the ZDX, even though it is the most expensive vehicle on average MSRP, I would say, in the Acura lineup. It's bonkers. If we look at the hybrids, and we'll finish this out, the hybrids, the Accord, it's about neutral. Civic, well, they've sold 44 because the Civic just went on sale late last year as a hybrid. Or should I say late last year, because we look at all these zeros here, it wasn't on sale mid last year. So it was late last year. The Civic Hybrid went on sale. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. It's fun to drive. It's sporty, efficient enough. 44,000. They've sold more Civic hybrids than Accord hybrids. And the CRV is at 114,000 sales, which again is over that 50% threshold for total CRV sales. And like I've said over and over, like, I personally don't like Honda's CVTs. I don't like Acura CVTs. And if there's a hybrid available on that same model, like the Accord, the Civic, and the CRV, it's a far better vehicle. It's far more refined, more luxurious, more powerful, more efficient. And it's worth the price increase, in my opinion, to get your feet into that hybrid experience from Honda, which Honda hybrids are really, really impressive. All right. So overall, if we look at Acura is up on the year due to ZDX and ADX, because everything else for Acura is tanking. RDX tanking, MDX tanking, TLX tanking, Integra tanking. All right. But then you have this ADX volume just supplementing, boosting the brand. And then the ZDX, which they're losing money on, there's no doubt, with all the incentives. Same thing with the Honda Prologue. You have huge ZDX volume. Honda has to have a huge, Acura specifically has to have a huge EV volume because they are not making enough hybrids for, I don't know if it's for CAFE reasons or EPA reasons or like ZEV state reasons. I'm sure it all boils into it. That's why we're seeing so much volume here. Honda would rather incentivize their vehicles to get them out on the road, should I say their electric vehicles, than have to pay green credits to Tesla or fines to the government because they're not eco-friendly enough. All right. So that's what Honda's doing here. All right. They're boosting the EV sales because they have to avoid paying fines and credits to other companies like Tesla. If we look at Acura and we take out these sales numbers here from the ZDX, all right, so it's 10,000 less compared to last year, Acura would be completely in the dumps. They would be minus. I know it's all ifs, but they would be down about 6,000 units compared to last year, which is just crazy. If we look at Honda's very healthy. Honda's up about 45,000 units so far this year. And you can't just say, hey, it's all Prologue, because it's not. Look at what's doing well for the Honda brand. The Ridge line. The Pilot's doing okay. The Passport's crushing it. The Odyssey's crushing it. Look at that 50,000 mark for the Odyssey. HRV's crushing it. CRV's crushing it. Civic is hanging on. And the Accord, of course, is in the dumps because of the Marysville auto plant situation. So Honda brand itself is thriving. Super, super strong. All right, so far on the year. Now, again, as we move forward, I have questions about the Civic because it was down 9% this month. CRV was down 6%. HRV is starting to go in the wrong direction. Pilot starting to go in the wrong direction quite hard. All right. Can the Passport and the Odyssey and the Ridgeline and the Prologue keep Honda positive the rest of the year? Time will tell. Honda's still in a really good position. They make a lot of cars here in North America. Acura still, it's month after month, we see Acura sales numbers, and I'm worried month after month because their core models, the Integra, is just a hair away from being outsold by a ZDX, which is fine, right? But again, Acura's losing money on the ZDX. TLX, how long is this vehicle going to be around? From what I'm hearing, it might not make it to the end of this year. ADX, nice supplemental, but again, it might get hit with some tariff, but that's Honda's problem. They're not passing on that price increase from tariffs to the customer quite yet. MDX, really worried about. It's right off of a refresh. And RDX, this is maybe the most worrisome because the RDX has nowhere to go. I think Acura was planning to replace the RDX with the RSX fully electric. I don't think Acura was planning on a hybrid RDX. I don't think Acura was planning on, obviously there's no Type S RDX, which is strange to me. So the RDX is very expensive, not fuel efficient. I just don't think it offers enough for its segment in terms of powertrains and variations for it to continue on the way it is. It's not the refresh, the small refreshes and updates they've given it to it is still not enough. It still has a touchpad. That's crazy. All right. RDX, I'm really worried for. TLX is pretty much dead. Integra, I'm getting worried for. Acura in general, I'm a bit worried for. RSX might help them a little bit, but again, EVs right now are beginning to lose or have lost the majority of their luster. And once the EV tax credit is fizzled away, possibly by the end of summer, early fall, EVs are going to be even further tough sledding for these manufacturers. They'll be losing more money on them. Also, you guys in the comments, Honda looking hot. Can they hold on? Acura, ADX and ZDX is not enough to kind of pull them along. How much longer can they do it? I don't know, with the core models being just destroyed with the lack of sales, or should I say the drop of sales. So it makes me worried. I don't want to see Acura suffer this much with their core models. It is what it is. When you don't have the product, you don't have the powertrains that what the customers are asking for, performance hybrids, any sort of hybrid. The ADX and the Integra deserve the 2-liter hybrid. Honda has no large platform hybrids to put into the RDX or MDX, and it's hurting them, I think, quite badly. All right, but I'll see you guys in the comments. Been ranting a long time with this one. Let me know if you agree with my assessments. Do you think Acura is in a bit of trouble? I'm worried. Honda, though, is just crushing it with their big vehicles right now. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned for, I think I'll have Mazda coming up next, maybe some Subaru. Have a great day and peace.